Hey everybody, so if you're looking to replace your RV kitchen faucet, we hope today's video will help guide you along in that process, and that's because that's exactly what we're going to be doing. Now, if you saw our post on how we restained our RV kitchen countertops black, you might have noticed that in there we talked about the problems we've had with this faucet, and that's primarily been that it leaks. Now, over time, we've got it to stop a few times, however, it always came back to leaking. So today we got our new faucet, and we're going to be taking this one out and replacing it with a new one. Now, the funny story here is that we learned something very valuable, and that's that when we were first doing our RV renovation, we found a faucet. It was awesome. It came with a warranty. Everything was great until it wasn't. And that's when we got it here, it didn't quite fit. So we needed to move on, but we were pressed with time. So we found this faucet, which got great reviews on Amazon, and we went ahead and ordered it. However, we didn't realize that it didn't come with a warranty until it was way too late. So our new faucet does have one, and we're really excited about that. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about how you're going to be removing this faucet. And before we dive into that, there's a couple points we want to touch on. Number one is that if you're connected to a water supply, you're going to want to turn that off. And then after you turn off your water supply, you're going to want to find your hot and cold line release valves so that you can release some of the water that's in those lines. Now, you don't need to release it all because it can be quite a bit of water, and that could create a large puddle, especially if you're at an RV park. Just release quite a bit so that it releases the pressure from the lines so that you don't get major overspillage when you disconnect your faucet. And number three is that you're going to want to turn off your hot water heater, because the last thing you want is your hot water heater trying to heat water that's not there. But anyway, that about wraps it up for getting ready, so let's go ahead and get this old faucet out. So the first thing we're going to do is disconnect our water lines. So now that we have those disconnected, there are a couple things I want to point out here. Number one is that these gold pieces here are actually an extension that we needed to purchase. And where those come in is that generally residential faucets aren't the right size for RV line plugs. So you have an extender or adapter that will allow it to go from one size to another so that you can use a residential faucet. But anyway, that's what those are about. Alright, so the next step, now that we have our water lines disconnected, really that's the only thing that was connecting to the actual RV. So now what we're going to do is release the faucet from the countertop by releasing this nut. And what you'll want to do is make sure to remove it all the way off the pipes. Otherwise, when you go to pull your faucet out, this thing will catch on the bottom. And it looks like I did. There we go. Alright, so here's our old faucet, and as you saw, it was extremely easy to remove. We just disconnected the hot and cold water lines and then disconnected the faucet from the countertop, then easily raised it out. But now we'll go ahead and install the new one, which should be just as easy, but I guess we'll find out. Alright, here we are with our new faucet, and we're extremely excited to get it in place because that leak was just driving us crazy. Now, Katie had looked at a ton of faucets, but she found one that she absolutely loved. Unfortunately, it was sold out, and it was going to take about a month or two to get here. And with our leak and the fact that we're traveling all over the place, that just wasn't going to work. So she found this off-brand version on Amazon, which looks really similar. We were actually able to get it in 2 days and add a warranty to it, so we're extremely excited about that. And one of the things she was looking for was really a more modern design with the faucet so that it could kind of contrast with the reclaimed wood cabinets we put below, really giving our kitchen that modern rustic vibe that we're going for. But anyway, let's get this in its place. And I do want to say I'm by no way a faucet expert, but I have installed a couple of them now. So before we put it in its place, there's one thing I want to note. Most of the faucets I've dealt with do come with a little thing here. It can be called by different names, but its main purpose is to give a finished look here, but then also seal on the countertop underneath the faucet. And most of the time when you have one of these, there's going to be a rubber seal on the inside, and that's going to actually seal and waterproof the underneath of your faucet, so you don't need to worry about caulking it or doing anything like that. But if you are installing one and you realize that yours doesn't have the rubber ring, you may want to go ahead and caulk, but use your best judgment. Anyway, let's go ahead and put this into its position. And there we go. So now that that's in from the top, now we'll need to go down below, connect our water lines, and go ahead and secure the faucet to the countertop. And yeah, then we'll be pretty close to done. But anyway, let's head down below. Okay, so the first thing I want to note here that's extremely vital about the faucet is that it looks like we thought about painting this whole back area black, but then we forgot to finish. But anyway, no, all joking aside, here we are, and a lot of faucets are going to be different, so it's important that when you're installing a faucet that you make sure to just read your instruction manual and check it out. But what ours calls for is for the rubber seal to go up first, and then you come with your metal seal washer, and then you come up with your final piece here. So now that all our hoses are through there, we'll push them up, and then what we'll do is thread this bottom piece onto the bottom of the faucet here, trying to get it on there straight. Now what's really cool about this one that our last one didn't have is these screws here. So what that'll allow us to do is once we get this up into position, we'll be able to tighten down those screws, and they'll kind of push up on that metal washer and create a much tighter bond. Now the ultimate goal here with this piece is just to go ahead and get it hand tightened. And now that that's in there hand tightened, we'll go ahead and grab our screwdriver and tighten down these screws. And now our faucet should not move at all. Which is awesome. So now, like I said before, a lot of faucets are different. This faucet that we got this time actually has an extending piece, so you're able to pull out the faucet and rinse the sink or do whatever you need to do. And I've never installed one of those before, but what I do know is that it says that on this hose here, I don't know if you can see it, on this hose here, we are supposed to have a designated spot that's marked for where we're supposed to put our weight. Well, there is no designated marking on there for where we're supposed to put our weight, so I'm just going to assume a position down here. That way, when we pull out the faucet, the weight will automatically pull it back in when we release pressure and let it go. But the next step is to go ahead and take our hot and cold water lines and connect them back to our hot and cold water lines. And I found that for the most part with these, you can go ahead and hand tighten them. But remember I mentioned earlier when we were removing it, is that if I didn't have these gold adapters that would take it from this size to the size of the standard residential faucet, they wouldn't connect. So just keep that in mind. You may need to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and pick up these little adapters so that you can connect them appropriately. Alrighty, now our hot and cold lines are connected, so I'll grab that weight real quick and we'll get that installed. Alrighty, so now I'm going to jump out of here and we're going to move on to the next step. Turn faucet on for 1 minute to flush any debris. Reconnect spray head. While water is running, check for leaks. Alrighty, so our faucet is all installed. Our water's connected. We've got our hose for our top piece installed with the weight on down below. Now the next thing they recommend you do is you turn the water supply back on. You go ahead and remove this front piece, and then you have the water spray out of here without this on there, so that you can make sure that if there's any debris or anything in the pipes, it'll go away and not through your nozzle. So I'm actually gonna have Katie stop the video. She's gonna hold this for me while I go turn on the water supply, and then we'll show you running it through. Alrighty, moment of truth. We got our bucket here and we got our faucet. Let's see what happens. We got cold water coming through. No problem there. I don't see any leaks down there, so that's a plus. Now let's switch over to hot. Oh, I guess the waters do have to repressurize, or the lines. All right, a new faucet with no leaks. Let me get this top back on and then we'll show you what that looks like. All right, there it is. All right, let's try it with the faucet head on. Now let's try the spray option. Looking good to me. Nice. So here we are. It's been a couple days since we installed our faucet, and as you can see, we do have our sink and our stovetop back installed, and that's because we did finish up the countertops as well. But after having a couple days to play around with it, we wanted to give you some of the pros and cons of our specific faucet. And we'll start with the pros. Number one, it doesn't leak. Now that's probably the most important thing. Number two is that it looks good. Number three is that the pull-out spray option has been really helpful. And number four is that it has great pressure. Now, as we move on to the cons, number one is it has too much pressure. Now, right now, our sealer on top of our countertops needs a little bit more time to cure. So when we turn it on and it hits anywhere, it actually splashes quite a bit and gets all over the countertop. So we're constantly having to wipe it down. So we're looking into options for how we can kind of lower that pressure in our faucet. Number two is that it would be really nice if when we pulled out this handle, we had an on-off button on it as well. Mainly because when you're using the sprayer, sometimes it can get a little difficult to turn it off without spraying water everywhere. Number three is kind of two-part, and that's that the button here that switches from stream to spray feels a little bit cheap, as in it feels plastic, whereas the rest of the faucet is not. And at the same time, when you pull and push this piece back in, sometimes it gets a little jammed up. Now, with that said, over the last couple days, it's definitely loosened up and comes in and out a lot more easily. But overall, that about wraps it up for our faucet. We're really happy with it. The most important thing we were trying to fix with our new faucet was the leak, and we did accomplish that, and we got some added bonuses along the way as well. Now, if you guys are interested in checking out any of the other faucets we looked at, or this one specifically, we will put some links in the description box, as well as a link that'll go over to the website, to the post, if you want to visit that out. But other than that, thank you guys so much for swinging by today. I really hope this video was helpful if you're looking to remove and replace your kitchen faucet. But anyway, Thanks again for swinging by, and we'll see you again soon.